This song was created by Leah Morris, who those of you who teach RE know has been contracted by the Soul Matters team to create a mindful meditation song for each month's theme. And we do this in RE with the children. So my initial idea this morning for Time for All Ages was to share her video about imagination, since that's our month's theme. However, in the events of the week, as so frequently happens, our previously decided direction for the worship service had to change due to current events. And instead I have another video, a timely one, which Leah made in conjunction with several children. They co-wrote this song. It is called Change to Come. I hope you enjoy.
I'm tired of staying home, of missing my friends, tired of online school, tired of everything being closed, having to stay apart at the pool, tired of having nowhere to go except from where I'm from. I know this can't go on forever. I'm waiting for a change to come. I remember the last day right before the pandemic. It was a Wednesday, it was kind of hectic. They decided to shut down the whole school just for 2 weeks, but it's gone on and on and on. Tired of staying home, missing my friends, tired of online school, tired of everything being closed, having to stay apart at the pool, tired of having nowhere to go except for where I'm from. I know this can't go on forever. I'm waiting for a change to come. Tired of poverty and suffering, some not getting paid enough. Tired of some people thinking that color of skin puts them above. Tired of pollution in the land and sea, global warming is just plain dumb. I know this can't go on forever. I'm waiting for a change to come. Coming up through history, we're getting closer together. We've come such a long way, but we can still do better. We help each other and learn to care a little more every day. It goes on and on and on. Tired of poverty and suffering, some not getting paid enough. Tired of some people thinking that color of skin puts them above. Tired of pollution in the land and sea, global warming is just plain dumb. I know this can't go on forever. I'm waiting for a change to come. I'll be waiting for a change to come. Let's be the change to come.
Today's centering words come from Albert Camus. He said, "In the midst of hate, I found there was within me an invincible love. In the midst of tears, I found there was within me an invincible smile. In the midst of chaos, I found there was within me an invincible calm. I realized through it all that in the midst of winter, I found there was within me an invincible summer. That makes me happy. For it says that no matter how hard the world pushes against me, within me there's something stronger, something better pushing right back."
As we enter into this time of gratitude, I can't imagine what it would be like right now without this UUCGV community. And this is my favorite time of the week, every week, to get to be here with you. I have a hope that every week I'll get through the whole service without crying, but I don't think it's happened yet. But as we just enter into this time of gratitude, this is our time to think about what the UUCGV faith community and Unitarian Universalism in the world at large means to this world. And today I'm so thankful for the music that have been put together, not by our community, well, except Amanda doing that beautiful Imagine song, but the first two hymns were other UUs in other parts of the country that put together music to help us remember that we really, really are not alone. And so as we take just a moment and we're going to listen to For the Beauty of the Earth, if you would like to make an online offering, I believe Elizabeth or somebody will put some links in the chat box, and we always just welcome writing a check and sending it into the office. Maya's happy to receive checks, and we can take Tithely, we can take Google Pay, we can take PayPal. So let's just take a moment as we sing together For the Beauty of the Earth to think about what this community means to all of us.
For the beauty of the earth, for the splendor of the skies, for the love which from our birth over and around us lies, source of all to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the joy of you and I, for the heart and mind's delight, for the mystic harmony, linking sense to sound and sight, source of all to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the wonders of each hour of the day and of the night, hill and vale and tree and flower, sun and moon and stars of light, source of all to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the joy of human care, sister, brother, parent, child, for the kinship we all share, for all gentle thoughts and mild, source of all to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise.
This congregation is a community of ourselves. Its energy and resources are our energy and resources. Its wealth is what we share. As we contribute to its life, we affirm our lives within it.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
So I blocked my first friend on Facebook on Wednesday, January 6th at 12:43 p.m. Another person posted her last tweet on January 5th. Her tweet said, "Nothing will stop us. They can try and try and try, but the storm is here and it is descending upon DC in less than 24 hours. Dark to light." Ashley Babbitt was shot and killed less than 24 hours later as she attempted to break through a Capitol window as part of a mob overtaking the US Capitol building. So what do these two events have in common? A whole lot. I knew that Wednesday was going to be a very important day. I knew that I wanted to be home by 11 a.m. to turn on the news and watch the proceedings take place as Congress counted and certified the Electoral College votes. I knew there would be tension. I even expected a bit of drama on the House floor. I also knew that there would be a number of protesters showing up to show their displeasure that the United States Congress would dare to certify a presidential election in the same way we have for hundreds of years. What I did not expect and did not count on was the level of violence that would unfold in real time. I did not expect that this group would literally shut down the proceedings or that the members of Congress would literally have to go into hiding. And I really didn't expect that it would take hours before we would see any sign of the National Guard or the mobilization of reinforcement units. On Wednesday, as everything was happening, I posted something on Facebook about needing the National Guard and asking how my conservative friends could possibly support this. The first response I got was from a guy who I have been trying to maintain a friendship with over the years as I have watched him get more and more vocal, mean, and angry on Facebook. I maintained the relationship because I remember who he was 20 years ago. A very compassionate, sensitive, thoughtful person who used to have long conversations with me about spiritual concepts. He was the person who cried for weeks when John Denver died. And I don't know this person anymore. The person I blocked on Wednesday was an angry, volatile bully spewing conspiracy theories. And I just didn't have the energy to engage on that level on Wednesday in the midst of watching our Capitol be desecrated. So I barely even read his post. I got the gist of where it was going, and I, without hesitation, learned how to block my very first person. And I still have no regrets because what I finally came to realize was that the person I was holding on to, the memories I was holding on to, are not the same person anymore. My gentle, compassionate, sensitive friend is gone. And I hope he is still there somewhere. But right now, that part of him is deeply hidden. And it's not for me to find him. He's going to have to find himself again. And that is his own inner work. The problem is, I don't even know if he realizes that he's lost. It was a few hours after that I looked at my phone and I had a text from one of my tennis friends. This is a person I don't know very well, but who I really like a lot. She's one of those people who are at that beginning stage of what might one day be described as a real friendship, but not quite there yet. And she texted and said, "Wendy, I have always known you to be a uniter. Please reconsider your Facebook post attacking your conservative friends. Is your intent really to be divisive?" And those were not the exact words, but close. And my reaction to her was different. This is a relationship to me that is still worth maintaining. So I practiced what I preached just a few weeks to all of you. I took a deep breath and I let myself find the space to respond instead of react. And because I know that I needed more space than usual, I replied with the words that would give me that time to move from reactive defensiveness into self-reflection. I texted back to her, "I love that you were willing to text me privately instead of just going away angry. Thank you." And then I said, "I'm picking the kids up from school, but when I get home, I will look at what I posted and see if it needs to be edited." I then acknowledged my anger at Trump, and I owned that I was angry, scared, and frustrated. But she texted back, surprised me. She texted back that she doesn't actually like Trump either, and she is really struggling with what it means for her to be a Christian right now. And then, as a way to extend an olive branch, she sent me a link to a video of one of her friends who she trusts and respects, who was at the rally. And this video was basically of a white middle-class family driving away from Washington with their, I think they were doing a Facebook Live or something with the phone. I don't know how people do that. But this family, they were driving away from Washington from what they would have called a rally, saying that the news reports were wrong, that they were there and everything was peaceful. And in fact, the few people who were violent were actually infiltrators from BLM and Antifa. Deep breath. And at that point, I couldn't even get mad. There was no energy left for anger because I realized that we are literally living in two completely different realities. The citizens of this country are now living in two different worlds. And I had compassion for my friend right now as I realized she is trying to bridge two worlds. Her experience on Wednesday of cognitive dissonance, of seeing me as maybe one of her few liberal friends, as a caring person who she likes and trusts, but living in a world more surrounded by her other friends and faith community members who is deeply in that MAGA fake news QAnon paradigm. And she's trying to bridge that gap right now. And so this is where we are. This is where we are. The question today becomes, what do we do with it? Who do we hold accountable? How do we hold them accountable? Do we just let him go away, or do we continue allowing him to suck out all of the oxygen in the room by continuing trials after he is gone, in essence, giving him more energy? how do we begin to heal from this? And what do we do with our friends and loved ones who we feel or are worried are long gone? And are we totally right? What if we're the crazy ones? I know they're certainly thinking that about us. On Thursday morning, I had a Zoom meeting with Anna Scott, who is the minister at the Spiritual Living Center here in Grand Junction, to plan our Together Colorado Faith Leaders meeting coming up this Wednesday. And every year, we organize an interfaith community event that is specific for the Grand Junction community. A few years ago, it was the Who's Listening campaign to address the unusually high rate of teen suicide in the Valley. Last year, the event was our Living Into Our Inclusivity discussion night that we hosted right here in our sanctuary. And we had almost 200 people come together for that conversation, to hear those stories and to talk to each other about how we can be more inclusive as a Western Colorado community. That was actually the very last event we held, community event we held in this sanctuary. So the meeting on Wednesday is supposed to be about what type of event we as Grand Junction faith leaders want to put together this year. But the conversation we're going to have instead is how, as faith leaders, do we bridge the gap? How do we bring healing to our divided community? And I'll be honest, I don't know. I told Anna, we are in such a different place than we were this time last year. And Anna said, well, maybe we start with shared values. And I realized that won't work this year, because I told her, I don't think we have shared values right now. And I think that is some of my heartbreak. That is the fear that there is a chasm so very deep that I don't know how to cross it right now. And I don't know where to go from here. And at those words, I think I spoke a new truth, a sad realization. It was a realization a long time coming, one that has been clearly in front of me for a while now, and yet I simply wasn't ready to recognize or acknowledge. I've come to the realization that a significant portion of our population has been radicalized. And excuse my language, but those words scare the hell out of me. But after seeing what happened this week, I fear that it's true. I've been knocking my head against the wall all week trying to figure out what is going on in our country. And I think maybe I'm thinking too hard. I think maybe it's clearly right in front of me. The brainwashing of a portion of America is complete, and it includes some of the people I care about, which is heartbreaking, which is why it has been so hard to acknowledge. And it is this realization more than anything else that I have found so discouraging this week. And that's where I feel paralyzed. In my spiritual arts classes that I take and have been taking for a few years, one of the phrases that our teacher, Dimitri, has regularly had us say is the following: I ask to dissolve any illusions, confusions, or delusions, upside down, inverted, backward images, and release any impingements or bombardments directed my way. I always thought that was an interesting selection of words, But this year, I have really come to understand what that means. How easily it is that we as human beings can be deceived, how easily we can enter into a mental world of illusions, confusions, and delusions, how easily we deceive ourselves and enter into a false narrative without ever realizing that we've been sucked into the vortex of deceit. In this world of mass media, 24-hour news cycles, fake news, mass manipulation on an enormous scale, how do we discern what is truth from what is fiction? I guess that really is the question for me this week. Because I don't want to believe what I told Anna earlier this week, that we don't have the same values. I don't want to believe that. But if I don't believe that, then what is the other explanation? And so I wonder if maybe it's not about values, but maybe it's about discernment, brainwashing, and truth. I want to believe that I can get my friend back, because at one time we did have the same values. But somehow now in his mind, people like me have become the enemy. We have become fake news. We have become not trustworthy. And I don't know where he went. Mitt Romney said to Congress on Wednesday night, "Tell them the truth." The problem is, my fear is that for millions of people, the brainwashing is now complete. And I don't have any idea how to deprogram somebody, let alone a significant percentage of our population. And so I'll be honest, I don't know what to do with that. I don't know what to do with what we saw this week. We talk about how young men and women in other parts of the world have been radicalized. And I worry that a portion of our country has been radicalized. I fear that's what happened to my friend, and I don't know if he's coming back. And so I sat in front of the TV for 48 hours straight this week, trying to make sense of everything, trying to figure out how to come up with words of hope for all of us today without doing more harm by creating toxic positivity. One of my chaplain friends used that phrase a few weeks ago, and I really like it. I don't know exactly what toxic positivity meant to her, but my guess is the idea that you can just stick your head in the mud, ignore what's around you, pretend that everything's okay, and talk about joy and hope and peace and love. And that's not helpful either. But every Sunday, I do hope to, at the very least, offer you all a glimpse of hope, of something that we can take with us into the week. And I came across this video, a video last night of Carolyn Miss, I don't know how to say her last name, never have, posted on Thursday night. And she expressed very nicely the concepts that I would like to get across to you today. So I will happily let her be our source of strength and wisdom today, since I'm kind of at a loss. Here's what she said in her video that she posted on Thursday night. What we are experiencing is an ongoing theme of how transformation expresses itself in our world. As it happens in the outside world, it impacts what happens in our inside world. Because we're part of these events, we're the engine of these events. and they wouldn't be happening around us if something wasn't happening within us. And I think that it is a way to view history in the making. Every now and again, there's a year in history that includes certain events that change the course of history, that redirect humanity itself. They redirect humanity for the rest of the lifetime of humanity. 2020 wasn't an ordinary year. It was a year that changed the world. She goes on to say, consciousness is about the task of refining your capacity to discern truth. It's your capacity to discern what Buddha would call the illusions in your life, and to break through those illusions so that you can make conscious choices, so that you can discern what is truth from what is not truth within yourself, so that you can recognize from the tiniest thing that, quote, I am being seduced by a thought form that has no truth to it, end quote. She says, people think that consciousness is recycling and having healthy water bottles. That's baby consciousness. That's comfort consciousness, but it's not the hard work of the process of inner discernment that actually transforms you. Keeping your body thin or healthy or whatever is comfort consciousness. The deeper work of discernment is hard. It's a challenge because that's what changes your life. Changing your body is one thing. Changing your life is another. So it's not paradoxical to me at all, but quite expected that in this era of our needing to work on becoming conscious, we would confront the uprising of massive flows of the opposition, which is what was labeled fake news. Fake news by someone who becomes the iconic spokesperson for fake news. 2020 would become a year of massive psychic seduction. It was as if we were reaching an apex of some kind of psychic breakthrough that not required just an election, but an exorcism of this kind of mass darkness, constant lies being poured into the collective, when the irony of life, the irony of the journey of the spirit, is truth. Truth versus an endless outpouring of lies, deception. Truth versus deception, that has characterized 2020. She says, what's happening to all of us, and this is what is happening in the United States, is a confrontation of entitlements that people think they're entitled to, that those who think that the country that is entitled to be white because of its history are having a lot of shaking up going inside of them. That's what we witnessed January 6th on the Capitol. People thinking, I believe that no, this country has to be ruled by white judges, white people, white laws. They are completely blind to the truth that this country is evolving into a holistic, a whole nation full of all of God's people. Every single race, every single religion, because that's what's called for as we move into an era of global community and indeed a galactic community. She closes with, this nonsense of skin as currency has got to stop. What we are living through, this historical era, is a rebalancing of power, and that rebalancing of power goes all the way down to our cell tissue, to our biology, to the level of the pandemic, to everything we are witnessing. And so it is up to every one of us to become conscious, to become truly conscious of how we see our power, of how we see our values, to truly become conscious and to start gutting ourselves at that incredible level of truth and the smallest choices we make, because that's what's called for. And we've made an incredible transition. We're living that transition, and we are about to rise from the ashes. That was Caroline Myss. And so today, I think there's a fine line between being naive and having the maturity of mind, body, and spirit to also know that within deep struggle, within the darkness, there is always that glimmer of light, that glimmer of hope. And that's the place I hope to reach today. Not naivety, but the strength of hope. Where do we go from here? We go within. We're not the first generation to deal with darkness, violence, and deception. In fact, that seems to be one of the few shared things of collective humanity throughout the ages. But with each one of these stories of the darkness, what does each generation also have? Examples of light, messages of love, role models of compassion and hope. And we are no different. As Caroline Myss says, we're not entitled to anything. We must create that which we want to see happen. And so today, I do what I can. I use the tools that I have. I use my words, I use my voice to remind us of who we are, what we can be, and that this imperfect world and the people in it are still worth fighting for. And so now I am going to allow us to unmute ourselves, and I want us just to take a little bit of time to share if you need to process a little bit about what you're feeling about this week, or if you have any insights or wisdom for us. We'll take a little bit of time just to be in community with each other right now. Piero, what would you like to say? And I would like to say, as we start this conversation, I really am hoping we will not go into the us versus them. I'd like us to keep this with some compassionate, insightful self-reflection of what's going on within us. So this is not the time to point fingers or things like that. So Pierre, go ahead.
I hope that maybe this can be a calling or for people